Welcome back to Zen Jen Pet Specialist. I'm here today with our friend Stephen and the cat behavioral pro. And we have a guest with us today, Tracy Grammer. And Tracy is coming on with her cat, Murphy. And Stephen is going to introduce Tracy and Murphy, and we're going to have a little chat about Murphy and some history. And Stephen's going to provide some helpful information for helping Tracy and Murphy kind of come together and have a good life together. And I'm going to also input some deeper sort of thoughts that maybe Murphy's got going on. And hopefully this will make the lives for both of these cat and human better and add some value. So Stephen, do you want to go ahead with Jenny?
Sure. Yeah, this is our fourth guest, Jenny. Nice to see you again, Jen and Tracy. It's always great to see you. I was actually introduced to Tracy through a mutual friend named Sarah, who is a fan of Tracy's music, as am I. And we'll do a plug for Tracy soon. And Tracy approached me professionally for a behavior consult regarding this cat that she was interested in adopting, a cat who had a pretty significant backstory. And Tracy had a very interesting backstory as well. And we did a consultation together, and the end result was, I guess, a foster to adopt situation, which I will let Tracy kind of take, just tell us what we should know, and then we'll go from there. So hi again to everybody.
Well, hello.
Sorry for upstaging.
I think you mean wet staging is what's happening there.
Yeah.
So it was December of last year, and my old kitty, Miss Kitty, had been sick for months with kidney disease and old age. She was 18 years old. I had her since she was 4 years old. She was an adoptee, shelter adoptee. And she had just been terribly sick and declining, and finally she died on December 14th. And I was heartbroken. This was a soulmate kitty, one for the ages. Like I had never met a more cuddly, cuter, handleable, malleable pet. But it was really grueling to see her suffer. She suffered pretty horribly there at the end. And I was in the midst of my grieving, and I don't know why I found myself on Pet Finder, just scrolling through the cats, and I came across this tabby with big eyes and just kind of curled up, this really small-bodied tabby who looked to be, the sheet said that he was 10 years old and needed a quiet home. And I thought, oh, I've got all this cat stuff here. I still have lots of food. I've got an extra room. Why don't I take in an old convalescing cat and just let him live out his his sundown here? You know what I mean? Like just give him a good last couple of years, because that's how it was sort of pitched, that he had been in the shelter for a really long time, difficult to adopt. And I thought, oh, he just needs to get out of there, And so I hemmed and hawed about this cat, and finally wrote to the shelter and said, what else can you tell me? Because there just wasn't really anything about the behavior on the site. And they told me that the cat was basically really combative, was living in one of the meet and greet rooms because it couldn't tolerate, it got really bad cage rage. Nobody could handle this cat. It was not likely to enjoy the company of other cats, hissing, combative, just a real tough nut to crack, and a problem child, according to the shelter. And the initial feeling I had when I saw Murphy online was just like this pouring out of love, like, oh my God, come here, But as they kept telling me more about Murphy, I got cold feet, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know how to handle a difficult cat. My cat was the exact opposite. And so I think that's when I went to Stephen to talk about not only where I was with my grief and if it was appropriate to adopt a cat at the stage where I was, but what would I do with a cat like this who was so difficult? How could I set my house up for success? How could I set myself up for success? And how could I obviously, help this cat adjust and have a peaceful life? And so I think that's where we picked up together, Stephen, is a consultation about that.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we talked about was not only providing quiet enrichment for Murphy as she came to your home or as you made this decision, but also the talking about trust and loss and being ready, being at a moment in your life where you felt open to trying again, and trying with a cat who you described as kind of the opposite of your cat, but this was also an opportunity to help a cat in need at a time when you seemed to me needed some comforting as well.
Yeah, and one thing I didn't mention about Murphy, Murphy got brought to the shelter by a neighbor. Um, Murphy's person died, and I don't know how long Murphy was in the house by himself, and I'm going to say himself because that's what they thought at the time, that he was a he. That will change. But Murphy was starving, and by the time the neighbor went into the house was being prepared for sale. Nobody was really taking care of the cat. It was down to 5 pounds, starving. And so the person brought the cat to the shelter under those conditions. I have no idea how long Murphy was in the house alone. Um, I have no idea. I don't know anything about the Murphy's person, if they were an older person, if this was an illness or a sudden death, or if Murphy saw it, if Murphy was in the house with a dead person for a while. Like, I don't know anything about Murphy's experience of this, obviously. Um, but Murphy suffering a loss and then being so difficult in the shelter, and then me with my loss, I just thought it felt like there was an opportunity there. I felt like maybe we could help each other. But then all the news about Murphy being such a tough nut really made me a little scared to jump in. So yeah, that's when Stephen was really helpful, actually, in describing to me sort of the difference between the feral, the semi-feral, and the under-socialized cat. And when I realized that there was one person at the shelter who could handle Murphy, I thought, and once I got a chance to see that and see what that looked like, that's when I green lighted the whole thing, because I saw how Murphy was, I saw Murphy's potential, and Murphy loved this person. It was only one person in the shelter. Murphy hated everybody else. But I saw the capacity there and I thought, okay, all right, let's take this chance. So, yeah.
And it was a life-saving chance that you took, and on behalf of this cat and yourself, and uh, and some, it was a huge leap of faith still, even though you saw that there was potential for her, who in the shelter. It may be premature to go into this, but it's something we definitely want to talk about, which is how Murphy acted to all these other people in the shelter and how expectations colored her behavior,
Yeah.
and how that all ultimately changed. And I think what we also want to hear is, because Murphy was everything you described in the shelter, and I was concerned for you too, and we did talk, and Jen and I have talked about different levels of socialization in earlier podcasts, and the difference between a cat who is environmentally afraid or has a kind of built-in fear of people. And what I think we learned with Murphy, when we hear some descriptions of what she was like when she came to your home, is that she was conditioned to be fearful and environmentally nervous in an environment that she had learned to associate with fear. So I don't know, Tracy, if you want to describe what that transition was like coming into your home, and obviously Jen, you can jump in at any point.
Yeah, it was interesting when I wrote back and forth with the shelter to learn more of Murphy's story and to figure out how I might go about meeting this cat. And they said that normally, because of the pandemic, it would be a one and done kind of thing. If you saw a cat online that you liked, you would show up and adopt it and take it home that day. But they wouldn't let me do that with Murphy. They said, you need to come a couple of times so that we can make sure that Murphy's okay with you, which I thought was wise. And so, the shelter was like 90 minutes away. And actually, I'm a musician off the road, so I was more than happy to drive. It gave me gave me somewhere to go. I miss gigging, so I drive out to see Murphy like twice a week for 3 weeks. I did this just to go check out the cat and to just sit in the room for a half an hour on the floor and do nothing, basically. Just talk to Murphy, sing to Murphy, watch Murphy, try to play with Murphy, which didn't go very well. Murphy was, hissing and swatting, and but eventually I was able to offer Murphy a treat um, that Murphy took right out of my hand. And I thought, okay, like bit by bit, gradually, I wasn't sure this process was going to work, me showing up so, sporadically, but it seems to have helped a little bit. Um, so in early February, I went to adopt Murphy. And I remember how heartbroken I felt when I walked into the shelter and I saw Murphy on the ground in a black net fighting the sedation, because Murphy needed one more dental check before they would let Murphy go home. And everybody was gathered around. Murphy's favorite person was there, and the shelter staff was there. And here's this cat just fighting it so hard, and then they decide they have to give it another shot. And I was just like, oh my God, my cat, And the way they net, it's like there's a black net around them, and then it's twisted so they don't run around in there. And I just thought, oh yeah, tears popped out of my eyes. I just couldn't, you know. But Murphy finally went down, and and they laid Murphy in a cage to recover after the dental check. And everybody in the shelter came to pet Murphy because they had never been able to touch this cat. The cat had been there for 7 months, and people had not been able to pet the cat. And they're like, wow, Murphy's so soft, and just all these things. And the caretaker, Michelle, was heartbroken because Michelle was the one who had bonded with Murphy. And she's just like, why does it have to be this way? I wish I could take this cat home, but I already have so many. And I just didn't know what to make of it, a whole shelter full of people who couldn't handle this cat. So those were the conditions under which we went home. At some point during Murphy's recovery in the crate, that Murphy soiled himself. And so the vet tech took Murphy back to clean him up, and then came out with this limp Murphy in her arms. And she said, guess what? And everybody said, what? And she said, Murphy's a girl. And we just went, what? And the shelter just erupted with laughter. No one could believe it. And I just thought, I this is a tangent, but this is what I thought. I thought, of course, my he is a she, because I had had a partner years ago who, my first music partner, a guy named Dave Carter, who I played with, who at some point in our romantic relationship revealed that he thought he was a woman, and he began a gender transition right before his death in 2002. And I thought, here we go. Like, it's coming around again. The he is a she. I thought, of course, this is my cat. Of course, it's my cat. And what was so interesting, so fascinating to me, is that everybody switched right to she. And it felt weird, but we all did it. We're like, oh, she's beautiful. And like the language and the lilt of it, everything changed. And it was fascinating. It was like nobody said, oh, buddy, anymore, which is what they had called Murphy. Oh, buddy. Now it was, oh, honey, And so that's the cat I brought home. Not only did I not know the cat, but now it was like not this, cantankerous old boy that I thought it was, this old man kitty. Now it was old lady kitty. And I didn't know how I felt about that because I had just had an old lady kitty, and I don't know, that was a moment, I gotta say. And they checked for space scar and she had one, and I was just like, 7 months, nobody knew. Amazing. But that's how upset Murphy was in the shelter. Nobody could get close enough. So
that's interesting. I'm wondering if part of Murphy's resistance was the fact that nobody knew who she was, right? Like there was a misidentification, and that's frustrating even for animals. That's something that's so. How did Murphy end up at the shelter? Was Murphy taken from her home?
Yeah, the neighbor, a neighbor just grabbed Murphy and brought the cat in. The neighbor was like, I can't watch this cat starve anymore. Somebody needs to do something. And brought Murphy to the shelter. We don't even know if Murphy was not the cat's name. Nobody knew the cat's name. So Murphy, I think, is the name of the street that, where Murphy was living.
The first, it's funny because the first thing I got from Murphy when I started talking to Murphy was, that's not my name. Like, Murphy is not my name, which happens when you come from, we don't know where you came from, right? So you end up with a different name. She definitely does not resonate with the name Murphy. So are you considering, or have you considered changing her name?
I think about this every day.
Yeah.
And I stand in front of her and I go, Shadow, Snickers, Pickles, like I try names out. She actually responds to Pickles a little bit, like her ears go,
Okay,
like
what's interesting? Because what I heard from her was princess and Cinderella. These were two words that came in. I think she was called princess a lot. And that's a P word, but I think that if you are interested in changing her name, she is open to that and more than willing, because she does not resonate with Murphy. She's like, bleh, that's not my name. There's something more, you've got more pizzazz in a name for her that she's waiting for you to give.
And I would support that idea.
I feel it, when I come home and I'm like, Murph, I'm like trying to make it work. It doesn't have any music to it. And now that I see her personality, I'm just like, who are you? What's your name? Like, that's not your name. And I know it, but I can't figure out who it is. So,
and Tracy, I mean, music is a big part of your life. And to say that, there's no music in Murphy in the name is a great observation. And I feel almost like she deserves a new beginning. She's gotten a new beginning with you. She's been through so much that you could kind of celebrate this next aspect of her life. And maybe I'm going to give you a prompt. I don't want to plant something, but I'll give you a prompt, which is maybe you should write a song about her and let the name come through the composition process.
I know, wouldn't that be fun? It's so funny that we're talking about her, and normally she'd be upstairs, on our cat tree, but she's been hanging out this whole time, like really active and giving me tail hugs. So I think she likes that we're talking about her and trying to fix her situation.
I find this, I don't know if this happens for you, Stephen, but I find this all the time when I'm working with people with their pets. Their pet will show up and be there, like, don't talk about me without me being here, right?
Absolutely. Including cats who normally don't show up.
Yes.
The owners will be like, my cat never does this.
Yeah.
And then, boom,
I hear that a lot. Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. So can I just share a little bit? It's making sense to me now, the kind of conversation I've had with Murphy. So I did get that Murphy was definitely senior, heading into retirement years. So that's good confirmation. If they told you that Murphy was around 10, I would definitely go with that. If not, because Murphy's telling me like retirement is the word. Like this is, and like you've said, you brought Murphy in to kind of live out her life. And that suits her well. So she tells me that she feels very safe and secure with you. And this is a feeling that she has had before in her life. She has felt safe and secure with a human before. And then all that trauma happened. and really pissed her off. She really was pissed off about the whole experience. So she's actually feeling that again with you. And so that this is great. This is good news. She feels comfortable. Um, she feels also very food driven. She feels like she's affectionate in reward for food. So how does that resonate? Is she, more affectionate when she's hungry? I think a lot of cats are, but that's what she's telling me.
She's such a hoove. Yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
that's probably what she wants is, it's getting on lunchtime.
And it's, yeah. Okay.
She's very to the schedule and she loves her food, but she also she's a very active player, and part of our meal time involves, well, this handy ribbon, which I just fling around for her and she attacks it. She just loves it, so she eats a little, then she wants ribbon time, or we call it crazy noodle. And then she goes back and eats some more. So,
Nice.
yeah, but food
Nice.
is huge for her, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. She also comes across like very quiet and reserved. Like I keep getting this image of like a person sitting and just staring out the window on a rainy day, journaling for 6 hours straight. Like that's the kind of cat she seems to be. Like lots of contemplation was the word that comes in. And that's where we talked a little before we started recording about her. She's asking, like, what is my purpose here? Like, what is it you want from me? So can you share that? Like, what is your relationship with her mean to you? And what is it you hope to have with her?
This is evolving, actually, because initially I was just going to bring an old cat in and comfort them in their final years. And then I find out she's this crazy player. She loves to run. I get her running through the house. She's a little herky on the stairs, but she'll go zipping, we run back and forth from the kitchen to the living room, and I wave my ribbon and she comes after me. So, what I'm getting from Murphy is not at all what I expected. I'm getting a lot of joy. I'm getting a lot of healing from my grief. I'm finding that I have room in my heart because Miss Kitty, my old cat, hadn't played for years. She was too creaky, and she was more just like, sit on her bed all day and then love. Like she didn't even care about food. She just wanted to be like a baby, in your arms, upside down, pet her belly. And this one is really bringing the joy of cat friendship back to my life, with this playing and this physicality. Um, and so, but she's also teaching me about boundaries, because she has strong boundaries. And she's teaching me that we need to be gentle with trauma, and then I just have to appreciate that she has such a rich backstory that I know nothing about. Although I do agree with you that she was loved. As I handle her more and more, I realize, oh, this touch is okay, and this feels like something she's known before, and she's negative about it, but I feel like she was really loved, and then whatever that trauma was in between, it just broke her, and so we're on the slow road back. And so I'm just happy for her to be happy, that's what I want.
There's something, she tells me that you're a lot alike, that what she sees in you, she sees in herself. So there's the quiet gentleness is something that sits for both of you. This healing from trauma, this is for both of you. Your trauma, healing from it, from the loss of your cat, her trauma from losing her human. It's something that the two of you are doing together. The joy, like the play and the joy is amazing for both of you, right? Because that's different. It gets you out of your comfort zone. It gets you being silly. It's something that the two of you get to share together. I think that's is amazing. So she says there's a lot of contemplation that goes on with you as well. Like she would describe you that same sort of way. Lots of sitting. If you're a musician, I'm sure you spend lots of time writing lyrics and that kind of stuff. And that feels like there's a lot of that. And she enjoys the kind of quiet contemplation that seems to happen a lot. It's helping her heal. It helps her feel safe. It helps her feel secure. It's a very nice environment. So you've only had her now for a couple of months?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is huge progress in a short amount of time for her. Like this is for her to be playing and running, like, you know, that there was a good life for her if she's starting to allow it to happen again. I think it would take a lot longer for a cat that didn't have love in its life with a human at some point. Maybe not even at all with a cat that's at the age that Murphy's at. So you're bringing back the proof that, you know, humans aren't all bad, that the experience was bad, but it's over. So I can actually go back and talk to her and explain to her what happened, why it happened the way it did, and that it's over, and that you do intend to keep her forever for the rest of her life, which I feel she knows. It's like she told me that she already feels like she's breathing again, like, oh, this is it. I get to just like live now. And then it's like you said, figuring out your boundaries, right? Like figuring out what is acceptable for her, what's acceptable for you, and just, you know, getting to know each other is fun. It's all part of the process and fun. There's something, I keep hearing that she's your musical muse. So, and I don't know, I love that what Stephen said about maybe write a song to find her name. And I just thought that was an interesting sort of, maybe that's a great place to start. But there's, and so I wonder if that's sort of something, if we were to give her a purpose, like I said, she's kind of looking at you like, what is it you want from me? Like, what are we, companionship's great, but animals also like to have a job, right? They like to know what they're doing for you. So to inspire you, to keep you calm, to keep you grounded, to bring play into your life, because otherwise, how often are you playing? Do you have children or have any children in your life?
No, I don't have kids and I don't have a partner. So Murphy's it. Murphy
Yes.
is my little familiar, you know. And so, but I hear what you're saying about a purpose. And that really resonates with me. I feel like maybe I need to meditate on this because I could be clearer with giving her what is her job. You know,
Yes.
I think everything needs to know what its job is. I mean, we need to
Mhm.
know what our
Yeah.
job is. Sometimes I flail around this question myself, you know. So
Yeah.
uh, yeah, that would be a good thing to figure out for her.
You know, I'll just mention briefly, if I could, the notion of celebrating her life. You know, we at my former animal shelter in New York City, I can't tell you the number of cats who came from the home of a deceased person, whether it was COVID related or another reason, and so much heartbreak there, and yet new beginnings. And the notion that you have to have a celebration to move on, and that whether it's a song or it's something else, the idea that she can move on with you, you know, as we all slowly emerge from a year of this pandemic and all the effects that that's had and all the loss as a result of that, the idea that we can have a conversation that involves some celebration just sounds like a nice thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree. And I love this idea of writing a song to try to find Murphy's real name, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, just when I think about saying, what is your name? You know, what is your name? Like, how will I know you? How should I call you? Just that inquiry, it almost makes me cry. It's like, oh, you just want so badly to know, you know, how should I call you?
I want to hear that song. I can't wait.
Yeah. I feel all tingly just thinking about it.
It feels like, right, the song itself is almost a journey or an encapsulation of a journey that you've been on with her. And you can finally talk to her. You know, not that obviously you talk to her in your daily life, but to talk to her through song just seems like a joyous expression and a dialogue with her.
Yeah, I've been writing about Murphy on Facebook quite a bit, you know, about the journey of going to get a grumpy male cat and ending up with a kooky female, you know. And my people are just fascinated, and they're like, tell us more. We need more Murphy. What's the update? What's the update? And several people had suggested write a song, and I'm just like, oh, they say that about everything, but I really, and I've sort of like resisted it. But now that we talk about this issue of a name, like how else am I going to find it? It's a really good idea. So thank you for that.
I'd like to share with you a little tip on how you can increase your communication with her. So you mentioned that you meditate.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the room where she rests, so she knows that I'm doing it.
Okay. Yeah. And cats,
I feel like we can do it together.
Yeah. Yes, cats love meditation. They'll often join people in meditation. They are in meditation a lot of the time, actually, in a specific brainwave. But what you can do while you're meditating, that's where you want to create the vision of your relationship. So if Miss Kitty was a very cuddly cat that you spent a lot of physical time with, right? So if Murphy's not quite as physical, what you can do through your meditation is create in your mind that vision of what you would like. You don't want to push boundaries, but you want to say, you're welcome to come sleep on me and lay on me and cuddle with me. And I'll allow you to leave. It's never forced. When you're done, you can go. But or whatever it is you're looking for to create in your relationship. If you want her to feel more calm and less skittish, you can think about that and create that vision of what would she look like? What would she behave like if you walked in the room and she just came and laid on her back, right? So meditation is great. They're going to pick up what you're laying down. So whatever you're thinking about, add that to your meditation with her. And you may find too, through this connection through meditation, you'll get her name that way as well. You can ask, what's your name? I find that most people, when it comes to animal names, get like the syllables and the sound very close. So for example, we met a dog down the road of my house, and we didn't meet the owners. We just met this dog, and he would always come out every time we were walking. So we decided to give him a name. But well, we got to give her a name. And we thought about it, and I said, oh, I think it was Soda was the name we decided to name this dog. When we met the owner said her name is Coda. And I thought, oh, that is like, we were so close. So, but close enough that the dog was like, I'll take it. Close enough, right? So generally when you're picking up those, it's them. They're kind of sending you the idea of what their name is. And we may not pronounce it exactly right or get the lettering exactly right, but we do get it close enough. So trust that through your meditation, the names that come to you and the ones that feel good. And it feels like something kind of very feminine and kind of quirky would work for her. She looks for, I think she had a very feminine name before.
Well, yeah. She's a beautiful girl, so
Yeah,
she could have a princessy name. She could certainly own that.
Good.
Yeah.
Nice. So do you have any more questions about her, or is there any behavior that you're trying to work through with her, or are you feeling confident and comfortable with the way things are going?
Well, there are some things. There's one curious thing that she does. So she has taken to sitting with me on the couch. She wants to be with me on the couch pretty much all the time. If I'm sitting on the couch working on the laptop, she's right there. She's not touching me. She's a little bit over, but she's right there. Occasionally, and I mentioned this before we started taping, but I initiate contact with her by putting my fingers up to her nose so she can just double confirm that it's me. And she's probably also going, is there a treat in there? But but she does this and then she'll bow, right? And that's how I know it's okay to go in for the pet, is we do this. And I'll do that on the couch, and she'll sniff and she'll bend her head, and then I'll go to pet her, and then she'll give me one of these. And I'm just like, what I do, and so there's something about when she is lying down, when she's curled up, even if she gives permission, she's still likely to swat. And I don't understand that. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I don't see any signals. I don't see a tail. I don't see anything. So um, I feel like she's messing with me a little bit on that one.
It's interesting, because when you see classic situations where cats react poorly to touch, we talk about overstimulation, petting-induced aggression. There are often warning signs, and there's often a built-in tolerance or lack thereof for the cat to handling. But occasionally we see handling issues that are location specific. And I'll give you an example. I worked with a client whose cat was sweet and loving in the bedroom, but in the living room was all about this in a really pretty intense way. Like it was a different cat. And they described how this cat loved this blanket in the bedroom. And my sense was that the cat had entered into this kind of location specific kitten mother relationship that was in the bedroom, but not in the living room. And I suggested that they bring the blanket into the living room. And guess what happened? Cat was super sweet in the living room with the blanket. So they literally moved their relationship with the cat by moving an article of clothing or furniture, however you want to describe it. Wow. And it's possible that Murphy, is feeling both content and possessive. I want to hear Jen's take on this too, because we have I like to just say that Jen and I have this way of coming together on behavior questions, but that it's possible that Murphy is feeling content with high status in this location where she feels really connected to you, but in this particular place, she doesn't want it to go any farther. Mm-hmm. And that maybe you want to try a conversation reset at the sofa where you offer some treats and you offer your hand for sniffing, but you don't try and pet her right away, and see if you can make some progress with that by having this conversation with her. And maybe if there are aspects of petting her in other areas of the home where she's receptive, maybe there's something you can identify with those locations that you can bring to the sofa.
Yeah, she tolerates a lot of touch, as she's walking around, or, she's happy to be like stroked really hard, yep. and handled all down her sides and even her belly. And I'll throw her over my shoulder for a minute, and then, oh, this is another thing that she does that I'm curious about. If her face is too close to my face, she's like, oh, and she bolts. Like she doesn't like your face in her face. There's something about that. So there's like with my old kitty, we used to like cheek each other. Like that's never going to happen with Murphy. But I'm just curious about like why her face is so scary. She can handle this for a second until she realizes my head is right there. And then when she looks over her shoulder at me, and then she's like, oh, get me out of here, and she squirms and I got to put her down. So,
well, I mean, cats will challenge each other with eye contact, or humans and cats can challenge each other with direct stares. And she just may be more sensitive to that sort of approach and prefers a more indirect approach, where you're kind of looking sideways and offering her alternatives to just this sort of direct thing. But Jen, I'm curious if you want to also get in on that.
Yeah, my thoughts here on this are that a couple of things. So I'll back it up. One thing you can do with a cat is everything what Stephen said about the petting, but I also like to leave them hanging a little. You want to it's a little tease, like, oh, here's my finger, you're smelling, you give me permission, but I'm not going to pet you right now. Right. So you're like leaving them, then she's going to be more inclined to be, well, wait a second, and start coming to you looking for it. So you're not being mean, you're not being neglective, everything you're doing is out of love. You're just like really respecting the boundaries. Like, no, I want you to ask to be pet. This is, and it'll increase her desire to have that interaction with you at any place if you leave her hanging a little, right? So that's you can add that to all of the stuff that Stephen said too. And I totally agree about the face thing. I think she actually wasn't allowed to be in the face of her human. I think there's that on top of it. So yes, that face to face is like, it's conflict. It's like, I'm going to show like a showdown, eye to eye. But I also think that wasn't allowed. Like if she was in the face, I feel like she was pushed away. So I think she's just anticipating getting reprimanded for being in your face. Cause I really feel like she wanted to be a butt header, like a head butter, but the owner didn't like that, didn't want the cat's face in their face. So again, you can, in your meditation through visualizing, you imagine her rubbing her face on your face and that the two of you are loving it and it's peaceful and it's great and it's on her terms. You're just letting her know for sure that you're not going to reprimand her for that and that it's safe and that you're not challenging her, that it's an exchange of love. And that's it. That's all you intend out of it. And that might soften her and let her know that she's able to do this.
Cool. Yeah, I'll try that. She definitely, I have played that game of, here's a little love, but not all the love right now, just to see what would happen. And what I found is I just moved some things in the dining room and set up a chair, and I find that she is coming to me now and she's giving me a paw on the thigh, like, hey, I'm here, give me some love. And I'm like, oh, it's you. And then I say, come up on my lap, which she won't do. I'd pick her up and put her on my lap and she can tolerate it for about 1,000, 2, 1,000. And then she's got to get down. But she will jump on the back of my chair and she will sit behind me on the couch. Like she finds places where she feels safe and she can be together, but not necessarily touching. It's really curious to me what she does. And so I just wondered, like you're saying about her conditioning, about what her previous owner allowed, I thought maybe she wasn't allowed to be on a lap and that's why she doesn't like it. And maybe she wasn't, allowed to jump up on things. It took her quite a while to get up on the bed, for instance. She was just like, and then I finally was like, if I double tap, I can get the cat to jump up now. She understands, like, that's a place for you. You can go there.
And it's safe.
Do we know approximately how old the former owner was?
No, I don't. And I've been trying to have a vibe that, and I just have this feeling it might have been an older person.
Because here's the, statistically, it could obviously be an older person. And it's possible that it's not just what was allowed, but what the owner was capable of. Right. If you're really elderly and you can't bend down to pick a cat up, or you're particular about your sofa, maybe she had a very delicate sofa. And maybe Murphy was doing a little scratching behaviors, or maybe the person was arthritic and there were just certain behaviors that she couldn't, or he or she couldn't engage in with Murphy, that taught Murphy, I have to be careful about how I interact because some things just aren't available.
Yeah.
Well, and that. Go ahead, Jen.
Sorry, I was just going to totally agree, Stephen. You're so much more intuitive than you ever let on. But that's exactly what I'm getting from her, is that it's that there were, those boundaries were set. I do feel like it was an elderly person, and that there was, you can't come on my face. You can't sit here. Like it's not because they didn't love the cat. I feel like there was some physical issues that just, it wasn't feasible. It didn't work. It didn't feel good for the human. So it had to be set that way. So I agree, but I think it's that you can slowly, and as you know, through doing this and spending time with Murphy, that she's coming around and finding what's acceptable for you is a little bit more than what was acceptable before. And so it's just her testing that out and getting used to what she can do and building that relationship with you. It's good. She feels really secure and happy with you. Like I can't deny that. Like that's definitely the first thing that came out of her, was that she feels safe and secure where she is. She feels good. She doesn't ever want to go outside. There was something about that. She probably never was an outdoor cat, because she did give me the feeling of, no, I like being inside and I don't have any interest in ever going outside, but I love to sit and look out the window. She loves to be able to have access to a window and watch like I said, on the rainy days, journal for 6 hours or whatever she's doing in her mind.
Yeah. We both like that. So, hey,
Yeah.
it's all working out.
Yes.
Maybe someday she'll go on tour with you.
I know. Well, that's the thing. Like, so our next frontier, is I have to figure out how to cut her nails, because I haven't been able to do that, and they're too long at this point, and I'm afraid that as we fling this around and she grabs it, I see her taking it, she'll use her mouth to get it off of her claw, and I have to be mindful of how I play with her, because I don't want to yank out claws or hurt her teeth. But I don't feel like I can handle her quite enough to get that done, so I'm a little scared about doing that. And I don't know how she travels. I've never tried to put her in a crate. When I drove her home, she was sedated. So she was just like, she was kind of out of it. Not completely out of it, but out of it enough that she wasn't going to bounce off the walls. So.
And this could be very challenging for her.
Yeah, I'm afraid of that.
Yeah, but I think if you spend the time communicating with her through vision, because this is how animals communicate. They send us images, we send them images all the time. We just don't realize that that's what we're doing, and that's the way they communicate. So if it comes a time in the future where you're going to tour and you'd love to take her, you want to start talking to her about that when that time comes. Like, it's going to involve, putting you in the crate till we get on a vehicle, or the whole, whatever that looks like for you. The more you can prepare her for that and show her that this is what's going to happen. So a little tip I can share with you to really help solidify this and understand this communication is, when you're meditating, you can imagine, do you have like a little treat jar for her, or somewhere where you keep a specific treats?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you're going to imagine yourself getting up, going to the treat jar, calling her hearing the sound of the wrapper or the jar, whatever the noise is that happens with treats that they can hear from a mile away. And then you giving her the treat and praising her and telling her how great and beautiful and wonderful she is. And then after you visualize yourself doing that, you get up and do it right away. So then they start to see the connection. Oh, okay. She sent me that image. I saw that happening in her mind, and now she got up and did it. This is how we start to really like communicate in a way that they're getting the fact that we are purposely talking to them. And then that will help build that. So then she'll know that when you're sending these images of what's happening next, that you mean it, that that's really what's going to happen. We often think about and worry about things that are going to go wrong, which is the messages that our animals get. Right? Mm-hmm. That's what they get from us all the time. They're worried about this. We're worried about that. What if this happens? So they're constantly, oh gosh, is that going to happen? Right? But if we change it around and we start focusing on what it is we want and what we expect and what we hope, and then following through, right? We got to make sure we follow through with the action. We really strengthen the bond of and communication between the animal.
That is a great idea. I love that.
Yay.
Because
I want to add.
I can totally see how all the worry, and then, how that would be filtering in one way or another. Even if I speak it, they're just like, she's scared of me, I'm scared of her. This is, but if I'm just like, yeah.
It's the same with
the ultimate example.
Sorry, Stephen. I was just going to add, this is the same with the nail trimming, right? If you're worried and nervous about the nail trimming, you're coming at her worried and nervous about this. She's going to be like, don't come anywhere near me, my nails, with scissors or clippers when you're feeling nervous and worried, right? So if you can let her know, and maybe it's like, I'm just going to trim one nail while you're resting and you're calm and relaxed. I'm just going to just snip one nail, just one nail today. And let's see how that goes, and that it'll be okay. And that's not scary, right? So baby steps and remembering how you're approaching something is really crucial. Go ahead, Stephen. Sorry.
And no, it's fine. And also offering treats when you're doing the nail trim, so that she has a positive experience while and that hopefully will help her feel better about the nail trim. The thing I was going to add in though, based on what Jen was just saying, is if you're going to take her on tour, what happens on tour? You sing, right? Mm-hmm. So I think, and this is going to sound, Jen, you're going to think I'm being in my most metaphysical, maybe. But I think you should sing to her. Sing to her
do.
the way you do. Okay. So when she gets on tour, if you're able to build that positive experience for her and she hears the music on tour, she's going to be like, oh, that's like what mom was doing back at home.
Mhm.
And that you sing to her when you take her to the car, and you sing to her in her carrier, and things like that.
Yeah, she definitely needs a song, because Miss Kitty had a song, and I think she knew it. She had a song and a blanket, and that's what we went on tour with. Like, her favorite blanket always went on the tour, and I would get her set up with that on the hotel bed, and then she always and her own pillow that she sat on in the back with a dip in the middle. She had her throne and her blanket and her song. And so, yeah, so Murphy and I guess we just need time to get all that together, and figure out what works for her. But I do love, I could do much better with the positive visualizations instead of the fearful ones. And then executing, on the heels of seeing a good outcome. I think that is really good advice. I want to try that. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, it works amazing. And I always say to people, you start this with your animal. You start thinking differently with your animal and communicating more clearly on what you want with your animal. And that bleeds into the rest of your life. Everything that comes to you now, you're going to say to yourself, am I thinking about this in a positive, forward solution kind of way, or am I stuck in worry? And it changes. It's like life changing, man. So it's start there, and you start to see how much it changes you and your relationship with your animal. And you'll want that through all areas of your life.
Love it. So
Awesome.
good.
This was so fun. I would love to do another update with you in like a month or something, and just see how things are going, to know about Murphy's new name that's come out there floating somewhere that someone's going to pick up, and just know how things are going. Would be great to follow up. Thank you so much, Tracy, for sharing your story and Murphy with us. I hope that this has been helpful for you, but for other listeners who may be in the same scenario. I know that so many people got COVID pets, and a lot of them were, come from unknown backgrounds, right? So you're not alone in this journey. There's a lot of people out there dealing with, traumatic animals and new animals. And what do we do? And we all just want the best for our animals. So I think it's really awesome when people reach out and search for help to make it better and easier for everybody. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Can I make a plug for Tracy's website?
Yeah, give her.
And the many fans who are following the story of Murphy, tracygrammar.com, where you can see her perform. There's clips. And I have one of your my husband and I have one of your CDs, and we love it. And my website too, right? cat-behavior-help.com. And Jen.
And me, zenjen.ca. So this was great, guys. So much fun. And I look forward to us getting together again. And if anybody wants to reach out to all of us through our websites and get in contact with us, we are there. So thank you very much, guys. It was good to see you.
Yeah.
Thank you
so much. This was really helpful. I'm really grateful. Thank you.
Great.
Terrific.